Welcome to another edition of the Finish First Cycle Breaker program. I am Judge Dawson. And if you've been tuning in, you know that we are all about leadership and empowerment and giving you the tools to take your knowledge and your life to the next level. See, oftentimes we get so bogged down on what happens every single day. And God forbid we're on social media, and that either gives us a roller coaster up or down, depending upon what we see. Our emotions are affected. But I'm giving you tools every week on how you can take charge of your life. You don't have to be a victim of the emotions of other people. You don't have to be a victim to the ups and downs that life will take you through. Instead, you can find that steady ground so that you can achieve your goals. And that's the balance that we seek to achieve here with our Finish First program. So sit back and let's go. So we're making our way through the book called The Cycle Breaker. The Cycle Breaker is a book of 5 young men from the inner city who have found themselves in trouble. The great thing about that statement right there is it doesn't matter if you are from the inner city or outer city. It doesn't matter where you're from. There will be times in your life where you are tested. There will be times in your life when you come up against challenges and you have to figure out how to navigate those challenges so that you don't derail your entire future. And that's what this book is about. It takes the journey of 5 young men who were sent to court, but prior to their cases being resolved, they were sent to a cycle breaker camp. The purpose of that camp is to give them tools of transformation, tools that can give them the knowledge and the skills to take their lives to the next level. And most importantly, give them the tools and skills to make sure that they don't derail their future. Because even if you don't know where you want to go, one thing for sure is that you don't want to be locked up. You don't want to be in somebody's jail, and you don't want to find yourself years from now regretting the opportunities and the chances that you didn't take. And not just taking the chances, but taking them in a way that could strategically help you make it to the next level of your advancement, your family, your life, your job, whatever it is that you desire. There are tools and techniques to get there, and that's what this book is all about. So, in the book, these young men are taken to this camp where they are isolated from the regular world. And what do I mean by isolated from the regular world? Where they're not affected by social media. They're not affected by the phone ringing every 5 minutes of somebody who needs something from them or somebody who wants them to do something that could derail their future. Instead, these young men are isolated in the sense that all they have is time and opportunity. Now, not all time and opportunity is good, because if you're not on the right track, you can use that to cause further harm and pain in your life. But these young men, the goal is to make sure that they get the tools through Cycle Breaker Camp to take their lives to the next level. So as you've been watching and following me through this book, we're talking about Jay. And Jay is the owner, or at least the leader of Cycle Breaker Camp. And he's been spending time investing in these young men. Now, we're on chapter 14. Chapter 14, we're already dissecting what it means to be a cycle breaker. Remember, step number 1 is you have to admit that there's a need for a cycle to be broken. What in your life do you need to change? Maybe it's not your life. What in your family's existence needs to change? And maybe you can be the catalyst or the start or the jump off of that change. Maybe it's the community at large. What is it about the community that impassions you? Something that you want to change, something that you know can be a lot better. That's the first step of being a cycle breaker, is to recognize the need for change. The second step is to commit to making that change, right? It's not enough just to say that, hey, I need to stop smoking. Well, what are you going to do? Are you going to commit to stop smoking? And that could be cigarettes, marijuana, whatever your choice is. It's not enough to say, hey, domestic violence has been a problem in my family for years. Now you have to take that next step, step number 2, which is committing to being a part of that change. So that's where we are in Cycle Breaker Camp, and that's where we are in the book. Chapter 14, commit to being the change that you want to see. And I'm looking down in my book. The quote I have for that chapter is, when you believe, the impossible becomes possible. Again, when you believe, the impossible becomes possible. When you commit to being the change, to actually embodying the change that you want to see, that change will come. And it's really just a mindset shift. It's a shift of your mindset. If you start saying, you know what, I'm going to walk in the purpose that I have for my life. I want the world to be better. I want people to be nicer. Then what does that require? How about you and I? Let's commit to being better or to being nicer. Once you make that commitment to the change, you'll begin to see the change. Before they knew it, Jay and the Seekers were at the Cabin of Enlightenment for several hours. And if you remember, these young men are off at a camp, and part of the camp is going to different areas of the camp. You have a place where they go to meditate. You have a place where they go to eat. You have a library. You have different activities. The cabin that they went to often meditate, do yoga, and or hear lessons from Jay was called the Cabin of Enlightenment. So they had been in this particular cabin for several hours. Suddenly, Jay, the leader of the group, the leader of the camp, jumped up and said, okay, let's go back to the main quarters. We've been talking for a very long time. With those words, Jay walked out of the cabin and the Seekers followed. Jay started running and the Seekers started running behind him. After a while, the Seekers could tell that Jay was taking them on a different path. They ran down a hill, around a small lake, over a dirt road, even down a street. The run was obviously longer than they had expected. Now, let me stop there for a moment. If you've been following along, we identified different types of people. If you notice, I said Jay started running and so did the Seekers. So a seeker, if you remember, a seeker is a person who is looking to better their life, better their future. They're seeking to better their life or better their future. So a seeker is a person that's seeking a higher level of being and or performing. So that's how we describe these young men, because what we want and what I want out of this program and what I want out of you and what I expect out of my own life is to continue to be a seeker, continuing to look to improve myself. It's not good enough to just be okay. You're not here just to be okay. You're here to be great. And the good news is that you have the capacity to do it, only if you want to. So that's why we are seekers. Back to the book. Finally, the Seekers arrived at the campground. When Jay stopped, he motioned for the Seekers to go into their rooms. He said, "Get cleaned up and get ready for dinner." Jay said this, and then he took off and started running again. And the Seekers watched as he ran because they couldn't believe, hey, we just ran from the Cabin of Enlightenment, and here he is running again. Jay ran for 2 additional miles before returning to his personal quarters to get cleaned up. Even with those additional miles, Jay was able to arrive at the dining room before any of the Seekers arrived. While the Seekers were in their room, Jay sat and patiently waited for them. The Seekers were exhausted from their run, and they were still having a time catching their breath. Pause, right? So here's the takeaway from this. When you commit to being the change that you want to see, every ounce of your existence has to join in that commitment. And I really think that that's a problem that we have with our generation today. We commit to certain things, but we're only halfway committed. I mean, let's keep it real. You have people who are halfway into Christianity, halfway in the streets. What do I mean by that? Well, they go to church every day, or every Sunday at least. And then when they come home from church, they're making twerk videos and putting them on Instagram. So they have their foot halfway in and halfway out. Now, that could work, and it may work for quite a long time. But generally speaking, we are meant to be whole beings. And when you live inconsistent with your being, there will be chaos on the inside. There's a Bible verse that says a house divided against itself cannot win or cannot prevail, right? That basically means when you are living inconsistent to what you believe or what you've committed to, there's going to be chaos and there's going to be turmoil in your personal life. So my suggestion is that when you fully commit to something, fully commit to it. And that's going to be hard because now you have to block out all the distractions. You have to ignore everything that everyone else is doing. You have to ignore Every party that someone invites you to. You have to ignore every time someone offers you a drink if you've committed to not drinking. Every time someone offers you marijuana when you've committed to not smoking marijuana. Every time someone gets on your nerves and tests you when you've committed to no longer committing domestic violence or assault. It will be hard, but when you are committed, you have to let your entire being be committed to the commitment. That's a lot of commitment, right? But that's what it takes. You have to go all in with your commitment. So when we take it back to the book and what I'm talking about here, Jay and the guys had already been running, right? They had ran from the cabin of enlightenment back to the main quarters. But Jay continued to run. And the reason he did that, because I have an inside track on this book, right? The reason he did it is because he wanted to show those seekers that he is fully committed to his goals. And that every hour or every minute that he had, there was extra time, as opposed to wasting it, scrolling on Instagram, wasting it, arguing with somebody on the phone, wasting it, watching videos and TV that doesn't add to his productivity. Jay wanted to make sure that he was doing something to better his life. So again, he had committed to a life of physical fitness. So instead of just hanging out and kicking it, he decided to run some extra miles. Question. In your life, do you decide to go the extra mile, or do you do just enough to say that you finished that project or that goal or that task? So for instance, when you go and work out with your personal trainer, do you do just enough to say, you know what, I did all the reps that they sent me online. I did every single rep. But you know you can do a few more, right? You know that your best development, your best accomplishments are made when you're going beyond that comfort zone, when you put in those extra 2 or 3 reps at the end, or you go for that extra mile when you know you can quit, but you're feeling good enough to keep going. So that's the lesson here. The lesson is when it's time for you to check in with your goals and see how fully committed you are to achieving your best life. One way you'll be able to know that is to check in and determine, have I gone the extra mile? And you have to go the extra mile to be extraordinary. While we're talking about commitment and being committed, you have to understand that your belief is going to be very important. What you internalize, your self-talk, what you cause yourself to believe will either take you to higher levels or it will limit you. Because what you believe will come to life. So if you've spent your life and your time saying, I don't trust police officers and I don't trust judges, then you're going to have interaction with me. I'm going to say something, I'm going to do something, I'm going to look a certain way, and you're going to say, you know what, see, that's exactly why I don't trust judges. Because you're going to believe that and you're going to bring it to life. Back to the book. When the seekers entered the dining room, Jay moved from his resting place in a corner of the room to sit at the head of the table. Now, he was in the corner of the room because he always likes to watch how people enter the room. Are they entering the room focused? Are they playing around? Are they kicking it? I'm going to tell you, a lot can be said and a lot can be determined about how you move when you're moving freely, when no one's watching you, right? So when you don't think the judge is watching you, I'm watching your every movement. I want to see, how do you walk up to the podium when your name is called? When you are looking to get that new job and they say, hey, John, you're up next. Believe me, they're watching you. They want to see, how do you move as you're making your way to that interview room? Every moment counts when you're trying to be the absolute best you can be. In fact, I'm going to tell you, don't waste any time while you're on your journey to being the best that you can be. Every moment counts. So again, he was resting in the corner and then moved to the seat at the head of the table. We are still going to continue discussing rule number 1 of becoming a cycle breaker, or rule number 2, having a commitment to the mission. So we're talking about rule number 2 to be exact. Remember, rule number 1 was recognizing negative cycles. Rule number 2 is committing to breaking the cycle. All right. So when you decided that you wanted to take this journey of change, nothing will change unless you stay committed. And I'm reading from the book. Your level of commitment will be directly related to what you believe about yourself. If you believe you can, you will. If you believe that you can't, you won't. In order to stay committed, you have to believe in yourself and you have to believe in your ability. When you believe, the things that you thought were impossible becomes possible. Believe in your ability to change. Believe in your ability to do better than the person who tells you that you can't. So what do I mean by that? When you decide that you want to be a cycle breaker, you will have so many people telling you that you cannot do it. You will have so many people who want to continue to pull you right back to where you were before you made the commitment. And it's not because people are bad or that they want you to fail necessarily, but oftentimes people are just comfortable with what they're comfortable with. So if you made me more comfortable when you were smoking weed, kicking it and partying, it's not that I don't want you to be a better person. It's that I want to be comfortable around you, and we're most comfortable when you're high. I don't know the person that's not high. So that's the reason where you want to be very careful about when you commit to making that change, that you make sure that you are able to endure the parts when it gets uncomfortable. And that's mainly when people are going to ask you to step outside of your commitment. Whatever you believe will come to life. It's a fact. You don't believe me? Spend the next 30 days with some type of positive affirmation. Like, for instance, let's say you're going to spend the next 30 days saying, you know what? Life isn't too bad. Life isn't too bad. And every single day you get up and say that to yourself, I'm telling you, watch how your life will adjust. But just imagine if you got up every single day in the opposite direction saying, you know what, my life sucks. My life sucks. You think you're going to bring blessings your way? Don't you agree that every single day something's going to happen that's going to make you even madder than you were the day before? So your belief system is very important and it's very powerful. So maybe try that exercise for the next 30 days. That goes also to something that you can do just every single day. Manage and monitor your self-talk. What you say to yourself is so important. Actually, it's more important than what I say to you as a judge. It's more important than what the prosecutor says to you, your police officer. It's more important than what your mate says to you. Your self-talk is going to give you the fuel and the energy to take your life to the next level. So I suggest to you, not only for the next 30 days, but starting right now, every single day, you get up and you be your best cheerleader for whatever it is that you want to accomplish. Every day, several times a day, keep telling yourself those magic words, whatever you come up with, about how you're going to change the world, or how you're going to be able to kick this habit, or how you're going to stay out of jail, whatever it is. Tell yourself every day, will there be setbacks? Of course there will. Of course there will. Because that's just how life goes, right? As soon as you commit to something, that's what we've talked about being a cycle breaker. When you commit, there are going to be challenges. We're going to go in depth about that pretty soon. But as of now, those two exercises for the next 30 days, a certain type of mindset, and every single day, be your best cheerleader. Positivity all day long. Back to the book. Jay continued to talk with his seekers at the table. Do you want to know why being committed is so important? It's because change takes work, hard work. I know you've all heard it before, but I'm serious. People say they want to stop smoking, lose weight, get a better job, or they make all sorts of other self-promises, but they refuse to put in the work. Change will be a struggle, but struggle is understandable. There is a gravitational pull when you are trying to break through your normal environment. The gravitational pull leads you to think, hey, let me wait till tomorrow, or he or she is different than I am, or I don't have time, or my energy is naturally low. Now, let me speak on that. Basically, what Jay is saying to these young men is that, look, change takes work, which is why so many people just don't change. It is so easy to wake up every day and do the same thing. It's so easy to wake up every day with the same attitude, the same impression about other people. But when you're going to commit to changing, thinking in a different direction, moving in a different direction, that takes work, because you have to actually now put in the work, get the tools, and do it every single day. And like I mentioned before, it will be uncomfortable. On top of that, there's what I call the gravitational pull. So, as children, you all saw on TV when they used to send the rocket ships up to space, and they do the countdown 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, all the way to 1, right? And then you'd see this great big explosion, it looks like, where the rocket ship is taking off and moving into space, right? The reason it takes so much energy is because there is a gravitational pull, that as they are making their way up, trying to break through the atmosphere, gravity is trying to pull them back down. And that's why it takes so much energy and effort to make that breakthrough. But guess what? As soon as they break through, then it's smooth sailing at that point. There's no more issue of gravity. In fact, there's a lack of gravity, so they're floating. And the same thing happens to us when we are trying to break through to a new level, and when we're trying to commit to achieving certain things. There's going to be a gravitational pull. Right now, we can list those gravitational pulls. It could be your family, your friends, it could be your job, it can be prior commitments. There's so many reasons and things that will try to pull you back. So then it becomes your job to say, you know what? I'm going to not only identify what is trying to pull me back, identify what is trying to pull me down, but now I'm going to figure out, how do I get beyond that? So what do I need to do to break through the gravitational pull? One of the things I would submit to you, and this is important for you to know, is that you have to keep your eyes on your goal. You have to remember that as soon as you get past all of these struggles, all of these people who are trying to pull you back into their normalcy, into their comfort zone, or better yet, into their state of failure, they're trying to pull you down. But the minute that you're able to break through, it is smooth sailing, at least for a little while, right? Because once you get into your new level, there's going to be new troubles, new problems, new obstacles, right? New things that you have to endure and challenge and get over. Just like when you make it to space, right? Once they make it to space, yeah, they don't have that gravitational pull, but now they have to deal with the uncertainty of being in space. They have to deal with the mission that they're there for, They have to deal with the challenges that are going to appear that they don't even know about. Same thing applies to us. You can break through the gravitational pull. You can get past all those people who say that you cannot achieve your goals, all those people who don't believe in you, all those people who are happy to see you fail. They laugh about it. They follow you just to see if you're going to fail. They follow your Instagram page or your Facebook page, and they want to see you fail. You can break past all of that if you just keep your eyes on your goal. That's step number one. And the other step, we go back to what we said in the beginning. Jay said it best. You have to put in the work. When you really want to change, you have to put in the work every single day to break past that old habit, that old relationship, that old addiction. But the good news is that you can do it. The next stage of breaking through that gravitational pull and staying committed is you have to have faith. And I'm not saying that you have to believe in a certain type of higher being. For me, it's God, Jesus Christ. That's just what I choose. You can believe in whatever you want to believe in. But whatever you believe in, you have to have faith that that being, that higher being, that spiritual being wants the best for you. You are not born to live in chaos, to live in lack, to live in want. You were born to be great. I mean, think about it. Why else would you even be here on this earth if you weren't born to be great? So it doesn't matter what you believe in, but you have to know that that higher being wants the best for you. And that's where your faith comes in. And that's how you're able to endure the hard times to make it to achieving your goals. That's the faith I'm talking about. You have to wake up every single day with faith, knowing that, you know what, no matter what happens today, I'm still going to stay committed. So what is faith? Faith is the ability to keep that mindset on the ultimate goal, your ultimate purpose, or your ultimate destination, even when you can't see it physically. You still believe it. You still commit to it. You still let that be the fuel that you use to endure the hard times. Because remember, the hard times are going to come. They're going to be setbacks. Ultimately, they're going to be setbacks. I guarantee you, you will lose some, but you will also win some. And it's when you recognize, okay, maybe the losses are more, prevalent than the wins. Maybe I lose more than I win. Whatever, it doesn't matter, because you have faith. And if you want to achieve your goals, and if you believe in a higher being, and you know that the higher being wants the best for you, that's all that you need to achieve those goals. That is the faith that you need to move to the next level. So back to the book. Jay says, don't lose your faith. You have the ability to fight and to overcome any negativity, anything negative in your life that's telling you that you cannot achieve your goals. So, yes, staying committed to being a cycle breaker takes commitment. And that commitment requires hard work, and it requires that you resist the gravitational pull, and it requires that you have faith. Going back to the book, extraordinary people take risks. Ordinary people limit their life and their experiences. Ordinary people go through life and they just take it as it comes. They refuse to venture outside of their comfort zone. In fact, it's been statistically shown that the majority of people who live in the inner cities across our country, and that's where I'm from, never venture outside of the neighborhood. And that's an example of being ordinary. So let me give you a point. Let me hit it home for you. I grew up in East Cleveland, and there was a time when East Cleveland had everything you needed. We had 2 or 3 grocery stores. There was a time we even had a movie theater, a bowling alley. So I had no reason to venture outside of East Cleveland. And guess what? I rarely did. I didn't go outside of East Cleveland. My mom didn't go outside of East Cleveland. My entire life was in this city. So that's an example of being ordinary, because we know there's a lot of world outside of East Cleveland. There's a lot of world outside of your environment, your neighborhood. Shoot, there's a lot of world outside of Cleveland, Ohio. So we have to start venturing out. We have to live extraordinary. We have to live major so that we don't end up being minor. Back to the book. To be a cycle breaker, you have to be willing to take a risk. You have to risk embarrassment. You have to risk being talked about. You have to risk being unpopular. And that is hard in today's time, because we all want to be popular, right? How many times do you go to Instagram when you post something on Facebook, Instagram, or any of that, and you go back to see how many likes you received, right? We're looking for affirmation. We're looking for people to say that, yes, you got it, or yes, you're important. And that's a risk when you start to say, you know what? My life and my goals are so important that I don't care about being popular. I don't care about being in the in crowd. That is a risk. But that's what being a cycle breaker is all about. It's lonely sometimes when you decide that you don't want to go out, when you decide that you're going to read a book instead of listening to the latest rap song that's talking nonsense. When you make those decisions, that's a risk, right? Because you're not going to be popular. You're not going to be the one that everybody says, hey, that's a cool person, right? Or that person's got it all together, because you're grinding. You're building. Don't be afraid to build. Don't be afraid to grind. Commit to being your best self. And I guarantee you, your life will turn around instantly. Again, it starts with that mindset. Remember, we said the project I wanted you to do, 30 days, a different narrative. Every single day, positive affirmation to yourself. You're going to be a different person. And that's a risk. because the people around you are not going to be comfortable with who you are today. Back to the book. Jay continued. How to stay committed. The cycle breaker life is not easy. The best way to approach commitment is from two lanes. First, be committed to the change that you want to be. We talked about that from the very beginning of our workshop. Simply make the decision to stay the course regardless of the challenges or the risks. Second, fall in love with your desired outcome. That's that faith I was talking about. You have to want it so bad that it means everything to you and that you're willing to commit. You're willing to sacrifice being cool, going out, having fun, feeling good. We didn't even talk about that. Sacrifice feeling good. Because everything that feels good to you is not good for you. Keep that in mind. Back to the book. So you have to fall in love with your desired outcome. You have to want your goals so bad that it's all you think about. However, the key is to have both the commitment to change and the love for the desired result. The reason you need both, being committed to the change you want and falling in love with the desired outcome, is because those two work together. Commitment to what you want will keep you moving along your path, even when you fall out of love with your desire. So what I mean by that is, if you are a man or woman of commitment and you say every day I'm waking up at 5 a.m. and the first thing I'm going to do is hit my knees and meditate or pray, and you get in that habit 21 days or more, you just keep doing it. You have become committed. So you may start to say, well, you know what? I don't love it, but I'm committed to it. See, that's the way they work together. On the other hand, if you love the outcome, the desired outcome, you'll be able to endure when you get tired of the commitment. So let's say you want to stop drinking because the person that you love wants you to stop drinking. And let's take it a little bit further. What if the person that you love said, you know what, we're not going to be together until you beat this habit, and you love that person. So your love for your outcome, your desire, will keep you going when you get tired of your daily commitment. When you have to walk in a store and walk past that alcohol so that you don't look to the left or right and go buy it, you're going to be thinking about the person that you love and the outcome that you want. And that'll keep you going when you get tired of that commitment. When you commit to changing your life and becoming the best person that you can be, even if you've messed up in the past, you will transform into such a different person that people will be shocked to hear about your background. How many people do you think are shocked to hear that Judge Dawson had once lost his license to practice law? People look at me and they can never imagine that I've gone through that type of embarrassment, struggle, and pain. Why is that? It's because I've been committed to building my current future so far up that it's so far in the past my trouble and my dilemma with that suspension. I made that distance so wide that when you see me today, you don't even think about that person. Even the people who knew what I went through, they're probably thinking about it because people are haters, they want to think about it anyway. But you can't see the Judge Dawson of the past. When you look at Judge Dawson today, you cannot see Attorney Dawson who was suspended from the practice of law. That's because I have been committed to rebuilding my energy, rebuilding my life, rebuilding my future and my focus. And you can do the same. All right. That's our Cycle Breaker talk for this week. Take care. Continue to be the best that you can be. You are a cycle breaker, and it's time to live like it. Let's go.